Hello friends, I am Nisha Sharma, Associate Professor, Department of English. The topic under discussion today is stanza-wise analysis of John Milton's poem on his 23rd birthday, or which is known as On His Having Arrived at the Age of 23. On his having arrived at the age of 23, which exists in manuscript and was printed twice during Milton's lifetime, was most likely written in 1632 at a crucial time in Milton's life, just after his graduation from Cambridge. Milton here acknowledges that he may not seem as mature as some of his contemporaries, but expresses a desire to use his talents well and his trust in God's will for him over time. One thing to understand about Milton's sonnets is their topical range. Not a writer of love sonnets in English, Milton wrote political sonnets, occasional sonnets, elegiac sonnets, and sonnets of personal meditation like this one, and we read earlier his on his blindness. Now to the poem. How soon hath time, the subtle thief of you, stolen on his wing my 23 year? My hasting days fly on with full career, but my late spring no bud of blossom show. Perhaps my semblance might deceive the truth that I to manhood am arrived so near, and inward ripeness doth much less appear that some more timely happy spirits endure. Yet, be it less or more, or soon or slow, it shall be still in strictest measure even to that same law, however mean or high, toward which time leads me and the will of heaven. All is, if I have grace to use it so, as ever in my great taskmaster's eye. Now, the interpretation. Line 1 and 2 introduce the poem's theme and create a metaphor of time as a bird flying away with stolen on his wing, Milton's youth. This poem wastes no time in setting up who our speaker's perceived antagonist is. In the first two lines, he characterizes time as a winged thief of youth that has stolen the speaker's adolescence before he could make anything of himself. Calling time a thief suggests that Milton does not blame himself for his lack of advancement in his 23 years of life. He avoids castigating himself by placing blame on an uncontrollable force. It is much easier to find fault outside of oneself, especially if the thing supposedly at fault is an abstract concept such as time. Line 3 and 4. Here the poet expresses his sense of how quickly time passes, hasting days, and full career. In the following lines, Milton emphasizes the speed with which he feels time has passed by, describing his days as hasting and full. Hasting certainly implies speed, although it also implies purpose. A person is told to make haste when they are needed somewhere. Similarly, full may imply that his days are busy, leaving little empty time between tasks. It seems that the time he felt pass has not been passed idly, but rather with hard work and toil. Toil is labor. These lines may be referring to the years he had already spent studying at Christ's College, Cambridge, where he was still enrolled when he wrote this poem. He would graduate the following year in 1632. Perhaps he felt that many years had been wasted studying and learning about other people's works rather than making his own. In line 4, the poet introduces a metaphor in which he uses the seasonal cycle to symbolize the various stages in life. Within this metaphor, spring symbolizes youth, summer is the prime of life, autumn is middle age, and winter is old age or death. He characterizes his own stage in life as late spring. While late spring does not seem very old to modern readers, it is important to remember that the average life expectancy in the 17th century was much lower than that of today. In continuation of his seasonal metaphor, Milton states that no bud or blossom has grown in his late spring. In other words, he believes he has nothing to show for it thus far, and furthermore implies that he does not see good prospects for the summer of his life. After all, if there are no buds or blossoms in spring, then how can there be beautiful full flowers in the summer? The poet here uses a seasonal metaphor to express that his time of life is the late spring, but that so far it has not shown any bud or blossom. In other words, any promise of fruit or achievements in his life. This was the first quatrain. And now, in the second quatrain of the poem, the poet remarks that he does not seem as old as he is. His look deceives the truth that he is practically a man. In lines 5 through 7, the poet recognizes that his semblance may make him seem very young to others, although he inwardly feels that he is leaving the time of his youth. I to manhood am arrived soon. Whether he wishes for others to recognize his maturity seems unclear. However, he clearly feels there is a discrepancy between his inner maturity or ripeness and his outward appearance. In lines 5 through 7, the poet recognizes that his semblance may make him seem very young to others, although he inwardly feels that he is leaving the time of his youth. Whether he wishes for others to recognize his maturity seems unclear. However, he clearly feels that there is a discrepancy between his inner maturity or ripeness and his outward appearance. At the time this poem was written, Milton was still a student at Christ College, Cambridge, and perhaps he felt that his role as a student or inferior to his teachers did not reflect the artistic maturity he felt he possessed. Inward ripeness continues the natural metaphor of bud or blossom in line 4. The poet has more maturity or ripeness inside than he shows outside, and more than some other young people, more timely, happy spirits have. But note the various possibility in the word endure. The lines are grammatically inverted and could be paraphrased. And inward ripeness that imbues, clothes some others, appears less in me. The phrase timely happy spirit can be understood to refer to those who are more comfortable with their age or whose age reflects more happily their inner being. Now, lines 9 to 12. It may refer to the appearance of inward ripeness of line 7. Whether ripeness appear less or more, now or later, it shall be just right according to his destiny, the Lord, toward which time leads me. Just as you know, it is a Petrarchan sonnet, and a Petrarchan sonnet presents a problem in the octave and it provides a solution to the problem or a different analysis to the problem in the sestet part. So here is the sestet. It may refer to the appearance of inward ripeness of line 7, whether ripeness appears less or more, now or later, it shall be just right according to his destiny, the Lord, towards which time leads him. Where the octave found dissonance between his inner and outward states of maturity, the sestet's answer is that time and the will of heaven will even things will even things out according to plan. Note the multiple puns in this line. Measure could mean a musical measure or a line of verse, even may be an adjective modifying measure, or may lead the reader into the next line, even to that same law. Milton often places adjectives both before and after nouns, and he likewise often lets the word at the end of a line work in two different ways in each line. And now the concluding. Critics have differed as to the precise interpretation of these lines, but in general, they suggest that whatever the outcome of the speaker's life, it will be with God's knowledge and in accordance with His word. The great taskmaster is God. In the last three lines of the poem, Milton completely surrenders his worry about success to the will of heaven. Interestingly, although this outlook is more positive in some aspects than his opening attitude, he is still using a scapegoat to avoid taking responsibility for his station in life. In the beginning, he blames time for stealing away his youth, displacing responsibility, and in the end, he displaces responsibility again by surrendering his faith and the great taskmaster size, which is to say, he believes he has no say in what task God will assign him. So, although the poet feels that he has gone through a self discovery of sorts, he is back where he started. Although on his having arrived at the age of 23 is profoundly interesting given Milton's historical context, Milton's true genius is revealed in the fact that even if he had never become the towering literary figure he did, the poem would stand alone as a universal document of human experience. No generation of readers since has been able to ignore Milton. His work has been widely reprinted and read in every century since his death, and many critics place him secondary only to Shakespeare among English poets. Thank you.